Welcome back to another Diablo 4 video. Today we're going to talk about another variation of the Trample Landslide Druid. Now keep in mind a decent amount of this is speculation. Some of this stuff we don't know exactly how it's going to function. But first you're going to need Aspect of the Trampled Earth. Trample now summons Landslide Pillars. Trample is now also a nature magic and earth skill. You're probably going to want this on a two-handed weapon, although in this build you could potentially put Aspect of the Alpha on your two-hander, but I think Aspect of the Trampled Earth will go on your two-hand weapon here. And then you pair that with Aspect of the Aftershock. Landslide's Earth Pillars each strike a second time and then deal additional damage per hit. So the first thing we need to be doing is reducing the cooldown of Trample. Trample normally has a 14-second cooldown. So the way we're going to do that is with Nature's Fury. So this is a Keystone passive. It reads, casting an Earth skill has a 20% chance to trigger a free Storm skill of the same category. And then the same Storm skills have a 20% chance to trigger a free Earth skill of the same category. So you take that paired with the Symbiotic aspect. This reads, when the Nature's Fury key passive triggers a free skill, your non-ultimate cooldowns of the opposite type are reduced by 4 to 8 seconds. So this is one that's still a little bit up in the air, exactly how it's going to reduce cooldowns. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to assume that it's going to reduce the cooldowns of the opposite type of the skill that you cast. It's very possible that it works the opposite way, where you're reducing the cooldowns of the opposite type of the triggered ability. But for now, we're going to assume that Storm Strike is going to be reducing the cooldown of Earth skills when it triggers Nature's Fury. So your first main gameplay here is just going to be spamming Storm Strike, hopefully with pretty high attack speed, to get Nature's Fury to proc to reduce the cooldown of Trample. And you should also be able to put Symbiotic Aspect on an amulet to potentially get up to 12 seconds of cooldown reduction. Alright, so now that we're reducing the cooldown of Trample, we're going to be running packleader. So this reads, unlucky hit, critical strikes have up to a 20% chance to reset the cooldowns of your companion skills. So this has 3 layers of RNG built into it. Thankfully, we get to take out the critical strike portion because the plan is to be always critting with the Trample landslides. Now, one thing we do need to know is what the lucky hit chance is of those landslides. Do they just take on the 20% that the landslide ability typically has? We don't know for sure. I would assume that they do. But you have the potential to be hitting a ton of times with just one Trample landslide, with a bunch of crits that should be resetting the cooldowns of your companions really fast. So we've got 2 companions here, Poison Creeper. The main reason for Poison Creeper is for the AoE Immobilize, which gives you the Terramotes to kind of keep the engine going. But it also should do pretty considerable damage, especially against regular enemies. But then we also have Wolves. These should be really good against single targets, especially when you factor in Aspect of the Alpha, which is going to increase the damage and make them werewolf companions. And then also Aspect of the Stampede, we're getting 1 additional companion. Now something to keep in mind, this version of the build, we are a little bit offensive legendary starved, because we're kind of doing a couple different things. You know, there's versions of this where you're just running Earth skills, and I posted one in my most recent video, because we are losing out on some of the crit damage Earth legendaries to run it this way. So then we've got Ravens. It is a companion build. Now, Ravens isn't bad, and obviously you're going to be resetting the cooldown of Ravens as well. Getting kind of an on-demand vulnerable is pretty nice, but I could actually see swapping this out for a few different options and only running just these 2 companions for the build. You could probably swap them out and run Bloodhowl, which you could get another defensive that's going to heal you. You're able to reset the cooldown of Bloodhowl really consistently too while you're running dungeons, and then you can potentially get some attack speed from Bloodhowl or your Storm Strike to potentially be proccing Nature's Fury more often. But so the hope is kind of that, you get a decent amount of attack speed so that you can proc a Nature's Fury pretty quickly. You Trample Landslide, you reset the cooldown of your companions, and you get to do this. And keep in mind, the way Landslide deals its damage, it kind of hits in succession. So it's even possible that you could reset the cooldown of the companions multiple times, depending on how fast you click the companion actives. Again, pretty hard to know exactly how it works without actually playing it. But then you also have Earthen Bulwark, which is going to be up basically all the time. So then we've got Aspect of Quicksand, which is going to make your Earth skills slow enemies. That doesn't necessarily have to be in the build. Ballistic Aspect, while you have Fortify, your Earth skills gain +2 ranks. Mending Stone is going to increase the duration of Earthen Bulwark, and then your Earth skills will replenish the barrier. This is another thing we need to kind of know. It's possible that this isn't even necessary in a build like this if we're resetting the cooldown of Earthen Bulwark constantly. I would imagine you can't have multiple instances of Earthen Bulwark active, so maybe this doesn't even need to be in the build, and it can be another defensive option. Potentially the legendary that gives you 20% damage reduction when you attack with a basic skill. And then Ghostwalker Aspect gives you 25% movement speed while you're unstoppable, and then you can move freely through enemies. This will be up basically all the time. Both Trample and Earthen Bulwark give us unstoppable. So a potential option would be to run Aspect of the Dark Howl with Debilitating Roar. So this turns Debilitating Roar into a werewolf skill, and then in addition, Debilitating Roar will immobilize poison enemies for 2 to 4 seconds. So this is potentially another way to get Terra motes. We already have this getting reset like crazy, and then Stormstrike itself has a chance to immobilize, giving us Terra motes as well. But that's an option there. One other legendary to keep in mind anytime you're running a Nature's Fury build would be Aspect of Nature's Savagery. So this reads, werewolf skills function as storm skills, and werebear skills function as earth skills for the Nature's Fury key passive. Now, the way I read this, it sounds to me like both werewolf and werebear skills can proc Nature's Fury, and both werewolf and werebear skills can be procced by Nature's Fury. So for the rest of the spirit boons, we're going to run Wariness, 10% reduced damage from elites, 10% attack speed, again, mainly for Stormstrike, get more attacks per second, hopefully proccing Nature's Fury more often. Critical strike damage always makes a lot of sense in a build where you can guarantee crits. Of course, Pack Leader. And then the Snake Tree is kind of weird, so maybe Obsidian Slam is good. Every 10th kill will cause your next Earth skill to overpower. I have a feeling this is pretty much always going to only apply to the Trample. You're going to hit an enemy and it's going to overpower and then it's going to be over with. But maybe it has better interactions than that with the Trample Landslide. We'll just have to try it and see. Overload's not great. I mean, technically we are dealing some lightning damage with Stormstrike, but I don't see this being good. Masochistic technically could be ran. Trample is a shape-shifting skill. I don't think that the landslides from Trample are going to take on the shape-shifting tag, though, so it's probably not very good. And then, of course, we're not running ultimates, so Calm Before the Storm doesn't make any sense to run. One other thing to keep in mind with Paragon, and now I haven't built out Paragon for this build, but there is Constricting Tendrils. On Lucky Hit, nature magic skills have up to a 15% chance to entangle the enemy with vines, immobilizing them for 2 seconds and poisoning them for 120% of the base damage dealt over 4 seconds. So we have the chance to deal some serious damage and get more immobilized chances, again for more Terra motes for the landslides. So anyways, guys, that'll about wrap it up. I am really excited to get in there and actually test all these interactions and find out exactly how they function. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.